get started. Uh, Appreciate everybody coming and listening to what we have. I know everybody's heard a lot of things and what's this and what's that and what are we doing and how are we doing. I want to give a little bit of a history of how we came up with this. The procedure that we went through, we identified we have a lot of students in our district that are not on grade level. Doesn't matter how we got there. It doesn't matter what has occurred in the past, but the fact is we have a lot of students that are not on grade level. And the question then becomes, what are we going to do to get them on grade level? Obviously, we can't do the things we've always done and say that we're going to make a change that's going to help the students that aren't performing at the level that we expect them to perform at. So with that being said, and the process that we went through to come up with this presentation and the restructure is, first of all, we started off with the leadership team, consisting of about 11 people, 10 to 11 people. And then we took it to a committee of about 21, 22 people that would show up. That consisted of various departments, consisted of leadership, district level leadership, consisted of campus level leadership, also consisted of a parent from each of the parent representative and a teacher representative, which was the committee. And then we would take it to the community, and we've held, I think, 6 or 7 community meetings to get this out there on Wednesday night and on Sunday afternoons. So we tried to get as much input as we could. We would take it back from the community, go back to the leadership committee. What did we hear? Let's make these adjustments, these concerns. Take it to the committee, introduce this to the committee, and then we also went and visited some schools in regards to some of these things, specifically Aldine ISD. So this has been a lot of work in a short period of time, but it's been, as I think, as well constructed as possibly could be. This is the same presentation that we give the committee meeting. The thing that I want to do is the ground rules, and this is what I tell our committee or our community meeting, because we need to stay on topic. Let's talk about what the restructure is and how that plays into our students and our teachers and what it's going to look like. For what is Royal ISD going to look like? If you got individual concerns about staff, administration, behavior, all of those things, because just sitting in, trust me, those community meetings, there was plenty of complaints that they wanted to throw. That's not what this is about. This is about what are we going to look like, what are we going to do to help our students be successful. And it wasn't just about low-performing students. I think as educators, we often start to think, because we're held accountable for, meeting those minimum expectations of all students. That's how we're judged. For example, what is an exemplary school or an exemplary district? All that means is 90% of your students met minimum expectation. A lot of people don't look at it like that, but they think exemplary is great. But in the eyes of, the beholder, is that really great, saying that 90% of your students met minimum expectations? I don't think so. But with that being said, we'll move on and talk about the vision of the district and what we wanted to do. Our Royal ISD recognizes that each child is an individual and that all children need to succeed. Therefore, Royal ISD seeks to develop a learning environment that creates success through instructional programs which meets the needs of all students. Because I think a lot of times, and this is what I was alluding to a while ago, I think a lot of times we focus so much, and as a former math teacher, I would focus so much on my bubble kids and my low kids that I often forgot about my high-performing kids because they were going to pass and they weren't going to drag my scores down because we're judged on pass and fail. Or did we get those kids to meet those minimum expectations? And it's not that we do it on purpose. It's just it requires our attention. And I've always used the analogy, those kids are the ones that are lost in the desert and don't have any water, so they require our immediate attention, while these others stay afloat. And what ends up happening is we have a system that I call a funnel system, because you've got kids here and kids here, and they begin to fall, and these begin to rise, and here's the line in which we push them all out. Some are a little better or a little higher achiever, and some a little lower, but they're all meeting those expectations. Well, that's not what we want to do. We want to see those lines go up consistently across the board. So that was the vision that we had, is creating a rural ISD, our school district, that would meet the needs of every single student, regardless of their needs, whether it was low performing or high performing. Comprehensive approach. We looked at 5 areas: human resources, professional development, financial resources, focused curriculum and assessment, and programmatic development. These are the areas that we encompass in developing the restructure and the vision of our district as is. When we start human resources, recruit the best possible candidates. Some of the things that we've done in the past is we wait late. And then if you're hiring in June and July, you know, stop and think. You have your job, your contracts are signed before June and July. There's not a lot of options out there as far as recruiting, as the pool is of finding those teachers that are experienced. It just makes it very difficult. Efficient staffing for campuses. You know, and when you start talking about competitive wages, you have to be efficient in your staffing. Bottom line is, if you have classes of 10 and you have a class load of 80 or 90, you're not going to be able to pay competitive wages of those teachers that are down the road that have 125 or 130 students in classes of 25. You can't have it both ways. I mean, it's a pick or choose. It is a one or the other. There's X number. The bucket is only so full of money, and once it's gone, it's gone. So, focused professional development. When we start talking about focused professional development, you know, we're talking about taking the data, looking at our teaching strategies, how we're teaching, how our kids are being effective, what are they being effective on, what are they not. And it's a collaborative approach, not just on the students, but also on the teachers. That's why we did all the walkthroughs that we've done. So the walkthroughs are about identifying patterns and looking at habits of teachers. Because when you do a 4-minute walkthrough, no, you're not going to see everything on that list every time. But if it's not occurring, if the high yield strategy doesn't occur within the 4 minutes that they're in there, research shows that it's not being used enough. It doesn't matter which one, just the fact did it occur. So taking that data that we've collected from student achievement, the CBAs, the unit test, the use of Eduphoria and all that, one, are our kids being successful? How are we doing those things? How are we teaching? And that creates that student success. So we have to have a focused professional development, not just that focuses on teachers, but also on the students and the curriculum that's being delivered. Focused curriculum and assessment, same thing, constant evaluation of student learning, Eduphoria. If you don't know where your student is, how can we teach our students? We have to know where they are. Implementing a true response to intervention and adding additional resources to supplement the instruction. I know that we've added a lot of technology and a lot of people, there's still some issues of working things out, but we need to do a good job of making sure we have professional development to be able to use those tools that have been put in the classroom for student growth. Financial resources, efficient use of the district resources. We're writing a zero-based budget, going back and looking at everything in the entire budget. What do we need and what do we not need? Where are we spending money that we can shift those funds to better supplement the needs of our teachers and our students? And then also seeking partnerships with our community. Programmatic development. Develop programs to meet the academic needs and social needs of the students, meet the challenges of the 21st century, and prepare students to be productive and lifelong citizens and lifelong learners. You know, to me, this is the vision that drove everything that we did. And again, the programs that we came up with, we start talking about here in just a minute, the Falcon Flyer program, our advanced academic programs, which is currently our traditional program of what we currently know it to be, and then this implementation of the STEM in early college. Those programs, that reaches from A to Z. It doesn't matter the level of the learner or the academic performance, but it addresses the needs of all learners. And that was our vision. A three-pronged approach, and it was real similar to what I just talked about, those three programs. The Falcon Flyer program, that's designed to meet the needs of all students who are not on grade level. You know, we have approximately between, depending on the campus that you want to look at, anywhere from 50 to 60% of our students that are not performing on grade level. What are we going to do about it? We have to do something about that. Students assigned to the FFP based on academic criteria. That's their performance, whether it be on unit tests, Ames Web, the use of STAR and EOC, all the data that we can collect to make that determination. Falcon Flyer period will be integrated throughout the school day. Initially, we talked about dismissing school earlier and extending the school day and having all the staff work with just those students. But then as principals took the criteria back to the campuses, they come back and we've got issues. It takes us 45 minutes to get the kids out. That's time and it takes the staff. And so can we integrate it throughout the day? And sure, I mean, if that's what we need to do, then that's what we need to do. So the extended school day, talking about moving from 3:45 to 4 o'clock, Monday through Thursday. And then on Friday, going from Monday through, or on Friday, dismissing at 3, everybody, the entire district. You know, currently we have, you know, you're looking at your elementary staff that currently that adds 4 hours a week. To your secondary staff, that adds 15 minutes a week. So, you know, it's a give and take, but it's also about meeting the needs of our students. And again, what is the purpose of this? The purpose is to fill in the gaps of the learning that our students currently have. And this is, I think, is the key. The purpose of that time for that Falcon Flyer, a personal education plan developed for each student. Based on the data and what we have at our fingertips to where we know where students are, being able to go back, and everybody knows because you have struggling students in your class for grade level work. Well, why are they struggling? They're struggling because, you know, maybe they're an 8th grader in math and they're struggling because they missed 4th grade long division or whatever it may be, and they need help there. Well, you have your RTI programs and you're working on those things, but the bottom line is there's just not enough time in the course of the day that we have to get our students ready for the test, because time, it's still going on for them. They still are held accountable for their grade level work that they're doing, and that's what we're working and spending our time on. But we're not spending enough time filling in these gaps that our students have that they've gotten from over the years. So it's intended to fill in the gaps. It is not intended for more homework time. It is not intended for on-grade level work. It is solely intended for the purpose of, you're an 8th grader that struggles with 8th grade math. Let's go back to 1st grade and let's work our way through and, you know, and fill in those gaps. So by the end of the year, what we want to see is if we have 500 kids or 1,000 kids that are in the FFP, at the end of that first year, it'd be nice to see that the next year there's only 500 kids in there. And then the year after that, there's only 100 kids in there. You know, will it ever go away? Probably not. But do we want to see 50 to 60% of our student body in this program? Absolutely not. And as that time comes, we'll reevaluate. But this is the situation that we're in right now, and this is what we feel like we have to do. So, and it'll be housed on the home campuses, and the students in the FFP will be able to participate in extracurricular or co-curricular and all of those things. We're not going to start those things until 4:15. You know, so if they're playing football or any of that stuff, and you know they get out at 4 o'clock, they're going to be over there at 4:15, 4:30, be dressed, ready to go on the field, and at that time. So they're going to wait on all students, because my understanding of what we will do is this will be a pre-K through 12 program. But students that are sophomores, juniors, and seniors that are on grade level and have passed all their areas, and they will have the opportunity, one from 3 to 4 for tutorials, to lead, for tutorials, to lead, and take enrichment classes during that time, such as other K classes. And that's your high school at that point in time. Okay? Advanced academic program, it's our traditional program. It's what we currently have today. It's dual credit, it's pre-AP, it's AP, it's all of those things, preparing kids for college. You know, and people want to start talking about, well, STEM's going to take all the, you know, the smart kids, and it's not. And it's going, the only students that will be, and we'll talk about STEM, the only students that will have the option are those that are on grade level. And that doesn't mean that they're all getting into the STEM, because there will be a lottery. So and plus it's not for every student. And it's based on engineering and math at the STEM. And that's not, it's just another pathway, no different than what we currently offer at the high school. But one of the things we're also going to do with that STEM is lead into an early college. But this is the other pathway. A student that says, hey, I don't want the STEM. I'm on grade level. And I see this program being integrated with students also in the Falcon Choir, because I may be excellent at math. I may be able to do everything in the world at math, but I struggle with reading, or I struggle with writing. So you would be in the Falcon Choir program to get remediation for that core subject that you needed, while I may be taking pre-AP or AP courses as a math student. So I see it being integrated. So students that's in the Falcon Choir doesn't mean that they're excluded from taking college level courses or pre-AP or AP courses. That it just means for that subject, which being in the Falcon Choir program, if you're below grade level, it is a mandatory assignment for those students. Because if we, and I say we as everybody in this room, be held accountable for their performance, then they don't have an option to not do what we ask them to do. Okay? The STEM in grades 3 through 8 with an emphasis on math and engineering. Students must apply to the STEM Academy based on established criteria. Acceptance to the STEM is limited based on space, because those classes will be 25 kids at the STEM Academy. It'll be project-based learning, and we have a video that we'll show at the end in regards to the project-based learning. But due to its focus on math and engineering, there will be a limited number of electives that are available. So they're going to have to give up some stuff if they choose to go to the STEM. They're not going to be able to, we're starting with cosmetology, and the odds of, you know, those students, when we start their early college, they're not probably going to have the opportunity to take cosmetology, because the contact hours that's required. So there is a choice for them, that they're going to have to give up certain electives to be able to go to the STEM. There's actually more offered at the home campuses at the junior high, high school, and elementary than there is at the STEM. It will be housed at the old middle school. And then beginning in year 2015, the enrollment will open up to 9th graders for the early college high school. Early college high school, for those of you wondering what that is a high school that is, they start taking college classes as a freshman. And they graduate high school, when they walk across the stage and receive their diploma, they also receive an associate's degree at the same time, 63 hours. So when they go to any other state school, they are now have the opportunity to go in 4 years, graduate with the master's, versus 4 years later with the bachelor's. Okay? And again, you know, we have students, and this is the thing that you know, in visiting with the community, this is something that I didn't want to our community feel. This is not about dividing the community. This is not about the haves and the have-nots. This is not about those things. And I know I got a slide in there later, but I just wanted to talk about it right now. You know, whether you are white or you're African American or you're Hispanic, you know, we all have kids that need assistance of any color, and we all have kids that are super smart of every color. And so it's not about drawing lines and trying to divide a community and do this. It's about meeting the needs, and it truly is about meeting the needs of every single student that needs it. And we want to make sure that we do that. Okay? Let's see, frequently asked questions, and this is coming from the community, and we'll go through this. Will my child be required to participate in the Falcon Flyer program? As stated, yes. If they're not on grade level, not being successful based on the data that we have, if we believe them to be below grade level based on their academic performance, it is a mandatory placement for that course in the Falcon Flyer, not an option. We need them to be successful, and we can't help them if we don't have them. And the Falcon Flyer, again, is to address the gaps in their learning. It is not about grade level work. It is not about homework time. It is not for tutorials. It is not. It is to work on the gaps that they have in their learning. If my child is in the Falcon Flyer program, when will he or she be eligible to get out? At the end of the year. We talked about it. Would it be a semester? Would it be, you know what, if they're below grade level, I don't feel comfortable letting them out a semester. If they're in there, they need to stay in there through the end of the year. I would rather them be above the bar than even with the bar. So that when they do exit the program, and we'll reevaluate each kid, are they on grade level at the end of the year, and hopefully we can exit them. But if they are not on grade level, or if they're just at the bar, we'll make that determination at the end of the year. But they are in there from the start of the year to the end of the year for that period, for that Falcon Flyer period. Is the STEM Academy limited to gifted and talented students? STEM Academy is not a gifted and talented school. It has nothing to do with GT students whatsoever. We'll have GT students throughout the district. We need to make sure that and GT is something that we really need to visit and look at what we're doing on our home campuses to make sure that we meet the needs of those kids. We can do a better job with our GT program, and we will. That is something that does need to be evaluated. But the STEM Academy is not GT. That is not a criteria, and it has nothing to do with being a STEM student. Is the STEM Academy going to be more rigorous than the traditional classroom? Obviously it is. It's project-based learning. It's about inquiry. It's about the creativity. It's about guiding the teacher. You know, it's the same teaks. It's obviously the same teaks. And when we say more rigorous, everybody in the room almost is an educator, and you understand what that means. When you start talking about teaching slope, well, you can teach what slope is, but can they use it? Do they understand the concept? Do they apply it? How do they use that in a project that they've done? And we'll talk about the project-based learning here in a second as well. But obviously, yes, by design, it is more rigorous. Okay? With the introduction of the STEM, will the district be divided between the have and have-nots? This is what I was talking about a while ago. This comes up at every one of our community meetings. And like I said, it is not about division lines. It is not about causing arguments. It's not about, it is about giving our students a choice to meet their needs. And that's it. And it has nothing to do with anything else. Okay? What is the cost associated? You know, on the STEM, you know, you're looking at about $350,000 to $400,000, because when you start talking about if you move 25 students here, then that's a teacher unit. You're paying for that teacher unit because you have to fill that because you have that number of kids. So that doesn't include, you know, necessarily if you'll have 8 teachers or 10 teachers depending on how many sections make. But we're going to pay for that teaching unit regardless of which campus it's at. But what is the real cost added to the district to do this? Well, you look at personnel, curriculum costs, facility upgrades, professional development, utilities, infrastructure, and supplies. Now, some of these costs go away at the end of the year and are reoccurring, but as more students grow, it's kind of hard to say that they will just go away, because now if you spend, you know, $90,000 for curriculum for 200 students, and then the next year you have another 200 students, well, you're going to need to spend that $90,000 again. So, but if it's the same number of students, then the curriculum cost will go away. Now, there's another issue that we run into with this too, though. Understand this, and everybody that works at the elementary knows that the elementary is getting very, very crowded. They're busting at the seams. At the ECC, we have room for growth. We could move first grade there, but if we do that, then what we've done is we've just packed the ECC and it has no room for growth, which we are growing. It has no room for growth. It really, it helped for a little bit for now for the elementary, but as that growth moves up, now you've got an ECC that's packed, you've got, and the cost associated with moving to first grade because of the services that get provided to first grade are different than that of pre-K and K. Now you're going to have to spend a ballpark figure of $250,000 in making that move in additional funds to the district anyway. That for those services, when you start talking about adding counselors, which they don't currently have, adding assistant principal, which they currently don't have, there's a lot of things that has to be added to the ECC if we move that first grade there. So, and then like I said, Ms. Hopkins will tell you this, that we are packed if we do that at that point in time. So there's still that cost even if we move the first grade. So even though it's STEM 350 to 400, it's, if we don't do that, then we move first grade and it's still a $250,000 cost anyway because of that. So in reality, you could look at it as $150,000, $200,000 cost. There's an anticipated cost of the Falcon Flyer program of approximately $1 million. Where does that number come from? Well, when you extend the school day, one of the things that we're doing is we're trying to focus everything that we can back on teacher salaries because of this. As superintendent, I'm not at this point in time for this district trying to save any money. I'm trying to do a balanced budget, and everything that we can do in the reallocation of our funds is to pour into two things: resources for our teachers and our teachers' salaries. That's it. And that's a conscious effort. But when you talk about that, you start adding those salaries up, you start adding and you start giving those increases, and you start looking at how many periods a day, because you look at a teacher's salary, and if they teach 9 periods or 8 periods a day, whatever it may be, well, you take their salary and divide it by the number, and that's how much that teacher's paid for each one of those periods to teach those kids during that time. That's what it is. So, and we're taking that time to spend in the Falcon Flyer program. Okay. And then, like I said, with the additional resources that we can get for that. Will my taxes increase? No. First of all, it has to go to a TRE, and there's two kinds of taxes. There are INS taxes, which is your bond indebtedness, which the community assumes when they pass a bond, which you know that we have done, I guess, back in 03, 04, or whatever, 07, and that's what we're paying for now. That's what causes your tax rate to fluctuate. But when you talk about M&O, you cannot raise M&O, your maintenance and operation taxes, at the $1.04 is steady without a TRE, a tax rollback election, which is required before this school board can raise the taxes 1 red cent. Now, you will see the taxes fluctuate because of the INS rate, because of the taxes, and the board adopts the tax rate every year. And the INS rate, when you pass the bond, you assume that debt, and ever how much taxes it takes to raise the amount of money to pay that debt for that year has to be set. And that's why you'll see that fluctuate. So as property values go up, if the debt doesn't go up, you see the tax rate go down. But if debt goes up, the values stay the same, you see your tax rate climb, but that's on the INS side. How will it be financed? Okay, well, our property values did go up, I think somewhere in the neighborhood of 80 million, thereabouts, which is a source of new revenue to the district of about $700,000, or give or take a little bit there. And then, we're looking at Medicare reimbursements on some of those things. We have salaries that can be reimbursed because of the services that we provide through Medicare. So, and we're currently not doing some of those things. And then looking at how we can save with our energy, because we've got some energy issues with lights and air conditioner and stuff. And I'm sure if you've been paying attention to that, you see that. And then going back to the zero-based budget and actually going through line by line every function, How much are we spending? Why are we spending? Was this line item needed? Is it not needed? Do we really need this? Let's cut this out and throw this money back into the budget. Okay. Is there a fee to attend this STEM? No. How many students will be admitted into the STEM? This is the way that we have come up with. We have come up with a rubric, and the rubric will actually go to the committee meeting tomorrow. That the application is a basic application, name, address, I would like to attend the STEM. The rubric tells you whether or not you're an automatic qualifier, a qualifier, or a non-qualifier, which a non-qualifier is a Falcon Flyer student. And the rubric will tell you, once they complete the rubric, 60 points, and this is what we're presenting tomorrow. It's still got to go to the committee and be viewed by them. 60 points will make you an automatic qualifier. There is weight in there in regards to academics. There's weight in there to attendance. There's weights in there for, are you a current student? And that's a debate. And, the current student, I see both sides of the argument, because we've got students that have left the district and now they want to come back, maybe because they have an opportunity to be a part of the STEM. Well, what about those students that have always been here? I see both sides of the argument. And, it doesn't mean that those students that can't be outside can't be an automatic qualifier. We're going to, if they're an automatic qualifier, they're an automatic qualifier based on the 60 points. But the students that are currently here will have an additional 10 points. So if they score 50 points out of a possible 90 on the rubric, then they become an automatic qualifier. It doesn't even exclude those other students from being automatic qualifiers. It helps ours also become an automatic qualifier. So I think that was, that's going to be a good topic of discussion for tomorrow in the committee. But the way that it will work, let's say that you have in one grade level, and what we're looking at in grades 3 through 8, grades 3 through 6 will be both bilingual and monolingual. So you're looking at in grades 3 and 4, 44 students, and you're looking at in grades 5 through 8 being 25 students per class. That's what you're looking at in there. So let's say that we had 60 qualifiers. Well, that's enough for 2 sections. Let's make those 2 sections, and let's say that there was, out of those 60 students, let's say that okay, we now determine we're going to make 2 sections. If that's what we in fact decide to do, then what we'll do, make the 2 sections, and that means 40 of them were automatic qualifiers, so there's 10 slots and there's still 20 kids. It goes to a lottery. The lottery will be done in public here in the PAC on June the 5th. We'll let the parents that want to draw put their name. We'll draw the parent, and for that grade level, they roll it and they pull out the name and they go through all 20, because there's a waiting list to get in with those other 10 kids. So then those first 10 names that got selected, they're in the academy. Those last 10 names, as they got drawn out, number 11 is the first on the waiting list. And so not all of the kids will get in, but we have to fill those academy seats up in order to say that we are funding. Because what I can't have is, say, classes of 12 or 13 in the academy and classes of 18 to 22 or whatever in the home campus. I don't want to do that. That's not the purpose of it. Okay? So, and again, right now we're looking at 25 seats. So if there's 40 kids, then that means how many automatic qualifiers there are. If there's 40 kids and we have 25 seats and 10 of them are automatic qualifiers, that means 15 go to are selected from the lottery. So you put those 30 kids in there for the lottery, and the first 15 names that get drawn, that's who goes to the academy, and the others are on the waiting list. That's the fairest way that I can think to do it. And like I said, this has been scrutinized by the leadership team, the committee as well, and the community over the last several weeks. Once admitted, will my child always be able to attend the academy? No. If they do not meet academic, we're not going to set a kid up for failure. Every kid, whether they're an automatic qualifier or not, will be on academic probation for the first 3 weeks. They may think that that's what they want, but they may be one of the smartest kids you've ever met, but project-based learning and the STEM Academy is not the right fit for them. They come back to the home campus at 3 weeks, and the next kid takes their slot. And then they are on a 3-week probation, and that's it. Because now you're into the 6 weeks of school, but that student would only be missing from the home campus or from the STEM campus 3 weeks, and it's still doable at that time. Now, if your child goes through the whole year, if a student goes through the entire year and they're successful, they're an automatic qualifier for the next year. They don't have to go through, they're not subject to the lottery. So if you got a third grader or whatever it may be, and they complete that academic year and they were successful, and they want to attend the STEM as a fourth grader, they are an automatic qualifier. Okay? That's based on year to year. If they go as a fourth grader and they're not academically successful, then they go back to the home campus. Because the STEM, it's just like any of our other special programs that we have. We don't leave them in those special programs if they're not meeting expectation. If one sibling goes, if my brother goes, does that mean I go? No, it's based on every individual student. It's not a family thing. It's not a brother and sister thing. It is strictly based on the individual needs of the student. If we cannot afford both, and that is one of the things that we're working on, Dr. Steele's worked very hard on that this week. If we cannot afford both, then the Falcon Flyer program to me is the most important thing that we have. Because to me, that's our students that are in the desert. That's that person that's in the desert that's lost with no water. And if we don't do something to get them up, we're going to lose those students. And we do not want to lose those students. So if we cannot afford to do both, then Falcon Flyer program gets first dibs. At this point in time, I believe that we can do both. We've had it looked at several times, and we're going to continue having another outside source looking at template and those things and making sure that revenue is there to support the programs. Okay? Anybody have any questions? And I did a good job, no answer. But you know, it's about it's truly about, you know, when we started looking at this, it's truly about what is best for kids, and that's all that drove this, you know. And some of the things that I think is very important that you need to know is, you know, it's not just about this and the students as much as it is about, you know, making sure we put systems in place that help our teachers. Now, how many first-year teachers, how many first-year teachers are in here right now? Okay? You know, there's a lot of hands that go up. And first-year teaching is tough. I mean, we get into it, because I remember, you know, you get into it and you have this idea and you work hard and stuff, and then all of a sudden, they didn't tell you about all the mandates and the pace and the rigor. There's so many different things. It's not just about going to the classroom and presenting the curriculum. Well, that kid didn't get it, but we worked as hard as we could, so we'll just take a little more time tomorrow. And then, you know, our hearts are absolutely in the right place. And you first-year teachers that are in here, if you think that I'm wrong on that, please speak up. But that's the way it was for me. And so then it wasn't until later that I began to understand that this is the rigor, this is the pace. I can't slow down because the pace is set for me by the state of Texas. The curriculum is already dictated to me by the state of Texas and what they have to know. The test is coming in April, and it doesn't matter whether I'm ready or my students are ready for it or not. That's test day. And if I get all of my curriculum in and presented to the kids, or if I get 75% of it in and presented to the kids, it's still test day. And you know, and so we got to make sure that we put support systems into place for not just first-year teachers, but all teachers. Helping with data, helping with checking in. What are your needs? What are your struggles? Let's help with those struggles and use all the resources that we have and get a really good support system. We're talking about Teacher Academy and developing that so that we can help people that want, that they see that, you know, because none of us do the perfect job. You know, that, and if you've got things that we can offer other teachers to help them, whether it be classroom managers, understanding data, or instructional strategies and all of these things. Because I know this, as an educator, everything that I got is not mine. It's been stolen from other great teachers. And that's the truth. You know, these ideas aren't ours. The great teaching is not, we're not the inventor of great teaching. You know, those are ideas, and if we're not standing on the shoulders of giants, then we're not doing the best thing for our students. So,
I guess my question kind of ties on to that. You're talking about 4 extra hours a week for elementary school teachers as opposed to 15 on the high school level, and then these PEPs coming up. And what I'm seeing is a lot of excess work being put on our shoulders. And, you know, you're talking about a salary increase, but that's vague at the moment. What kind of help is going to be provided to us? Am I, you know, if you're sitting my day until 4 already, maybe 4:30, am I going to be up here till 6 writing PEPs now?
now, the PEPs are going to have to be developed prior to where we get started. And if you'll go back and look at the data that we already have on a lot of these students and you pull it for what they're struggling in, those PEPs should be not necessarily easy, but fairly simple. Because like right now, let's take a 4th grade student that doesn't meet threshold, and I was looking at this the other day. Well, he fell 5%, but then I go in and I look, or 5 points, and I go in and look, and we did good, except for one unit. That student fell because he didn't get long division, and he scored a 60 on it. So right now, I know as a 5th grader, if he didn't meet that threshold, and I pull that, and he's struggling in math, and what are you going to work on? He didn't get long division, and I think you can do that across the board and start back with those students. When you talk about the length of the day, and you talk about the salary scale and pay scale, you know, it's 15 minutes more a day now for secondary, and it's 4 hours more, yes, and I agree with that. But yet y'all are on the same pay scale. You know, so is that, you know, because I've heard that argument about, well, I'm going to have 4 extra hours and I'm going to have 20, that's equivalent by the end of the year, 20 extra days. Well, do we need to develop 2 pay scales then, one for elementary, one for secondary? I don't think so. I think the job that needs to be done for the students. So when you start talking about the time, yeah, there's going to be some more time. Are you going to be done at 3 o'clock with students? No, you'll be done at 4, except for on Fridays. How else would you propose that we would get the time needed for the students that aren't on the grade level to get them where they need to be successful?
I'm in favor of more time. That's not my concern. My concern is once you're adding all these other things onto it that's going to come with this program, are we going to be provided with the assistance to get it done? Because it may be an easy process once it's done, but at the beginning we have 60% of our students who are going to need these programs written. Where is that support going to come from? Because I can think of my own homeroom classroom. There's more than 60% that are going to need these plans written for them. I've already have a very full day teaching them and providing them that assistance. Like you said, I will be here with them until 4. How late will I be expected to stay to make sure these programs are written?
Till they're written.
To make sure that they are prepared for the student.
Well, I think it's going to take a collaborative effort, and one of the things that we are going to do, you know, we have instructional specialists in the district, coaches, and we are looking at adding 2 more of those so that one of those is on the campus all the time so that individual can assist and oversee this. And we're also looking at an RTI coordinator as well in order to oversee these programs and make sure that we can, that we're meeting the needs of the teachers to get those in. You know, and is that going to be enough? I'll be honest with you, I don't know that we could ever do enough to help. But I know this, we're going to give it all we can. You know, and that's the thing about checking in on the Friday mornings, you know, looking at doing some of those things to hear the concerns. Okay, this week, what were some of the concerns that you had, the issues you had? Well, I can't get my PEPs done, or I've got this. Well, let's tag team and it be a true team effort approach. Because I can promise you this, there are going to be roadblocks. There are going to be difficulties in this. There is no doubt about that. And it's going to be hard. And I'm hoping over the next couple of years that it won't be 60%. It won't be, you're saying well more than 60% of the students in your homeroom class need this. I'm hoping in 2 years we don't have that issue. But, you know, right now, I mean, you know, and that's one of the challenges that I make with the committee and the leadership team and the community. If there's a better way, you know, let us know. Let us know now. Throw up those roadblocks. And that is an issue, and that is a concern. And it's a good one, and it should be, because it is extra time. What else do you do? And is it going to be difficult? It is. It's going to take some time. But once those PEDs are developed, it shouldn't be something that has to be developed at once. And it should be for that student for that year. You know, and it's going to take some time to get those developed. And we are adding that additional support to the classroom and the RTI coordinator to the district to help with all of that data and making sure that those PEDs are what needs to be met. But again, is that going to be enough? Probably not. Yeah, but but that's why I want to have those meetings every Friday morning and those teachers' academies and those things, because what are we going to do to support our teachers? And we got to listen. You know, so that first Friday of the school year, man, I have these issues. Well, okay, let's get them. Let's knock them out. Let's overcome them.
Mr. Ackley, one of the concerns, and this specifically comes from, I think, the elementary and, well, I know for a fact the elementary teachers and middle school teachers probably are concerned as well, is the family time. You know, we are doing this because we want to bring the 60% of those students up to level. However, with this program and the extended time, that extended hour, it ties into our family time where we spend it with our children to maintain them at the level that they're supposed to be. And so there is a great concern, especially if we have a family, for this extended time. One of the questions that was raised in our meetings, in our PLCs, is why can we not implement the FFP program at the beginning of the day as opposed to the end of the day, and then integrate PE in the recess time, as opposed to having the FFP at the end of the day with an additional PE.
Now PE is mandated by the state of Texas, just like reading and math is. And all we're asking on the PE is to meet the state minimum requirement. Okay? And as far as recess, and I'll tell you, when you start talking about elementary kids, especially elementary kids, and this is, you know, being a father and having two in the elementary school, you know, I think it's important that they go outside every day or have the opportunity to run. I don't think it's fair to ask a first grader or third grader, which I have in our elementary school, to do without an opportunity for PE or recess in the whole day. And
We agree with the PE. The question is, why not take advantage? The kids are there, most of those kids that we teach are there from 7:20 and class starts at 8. Why not take advantage of those first 30 minutes and with that FFP, as opposed to extending it a whole additional hour, because we're not extending it a whole additional hour. We are extending it an hour and a half. Because by the time we load the kids on the buses, they go home, that's over, that's not till 4, that's actually 4:30 to 5.
well, and the transportation issue has been addressed too, because we want to make sure that, you know, our students aren't waiting on buses when we dismiss. We want to make sure that the buses are there waiting on the students, so that when you pop them out, they get on the bus, they go. That's an issue. And we talked about start times for the elementary. You know, because when you start talking about start times, we talk about starting their elementary first, because those kids are not capable of getting up after mom's left or dad's left to go to work to get themselves ready to come. So a lot of times they either arrive very early at 7, like I said, 7:20, or they're being dropped off very early, either by bus or whatever. But, you know, if our start time is at 7:20 and we get out at 3:20, you know, but the time frame is the same. When you talk about you know, as elementary teacher, that's our family time. Well, that's the same thing for the secondary that's doing it now. The secondary has families too. And, you know, so, and I get that. Believe me, family is first and more, you know, and I'll say this, you know, and this is philosophy that I love. It's God, family, and then everything else. And so I totally get the family. And, you know, and that's why we ask the principals to take it back. Look, this is what the FFP is. This is the criteria. This is the purpose of it. We don't want to cut or eliminate the things that the kids have out of the day right now. But we want this implemented. Take it back and talk about it. And I think what you're talking about is a similar, or is probably the fourth option, or option 4 that's come out of elementary school, and it came, what day, yesterday or Friday? It came Friday. You know, so what is that supposed to look like? What is option 4? I haven't had a chance to go through option 4. But what I want is that class for those kids to fill in the gaps, the Falcon Flyer, and I don't want to cut them out of anything else that they're doing that we currently offer. I think it's important for those kids for social development, for their PE time, and, you know, if it's a 10-minute recess or 15 minutes, whatever that may be, or no recess if they're going to PE every day, that doesn't bother me. But I think that time for them is important, just like the reading, the math, and the writing, because of the skills that are developed there. And then we still have, you know, we want to offer the fine arts, and, you know, we want the music, art, and those things for those kids, and we don't want to take that from an elementary student because they have gaps in their learning that is not their fault. And it doesn't matter why they have the gaps, but it's still not their fault that they have the gaps. We are where we are with that. And so, you know, I see this, you know, however we implement and what that day looks like, whether it's a 7:20 to 3:20 or whether it's 8 to 4. Because, and actually what we said, the latest school would get out at 4, which is the high school. It will go 8 to 4, and everything else backs up earlier than that. Because if y'all are already there with the kids at 7:30, why can't it be 7:30 to 3:30? That's the same thing as 8 to 4. And then if it can be worked other ways, what? You said no. Same time frame. Well, if you want to start earlier, go 7.
Excuse me, this is Ms. Horner. I'm working here in the district for 8 years, and it's the first time that I feel a big concern about the time, because we as teachers, we are trying to do our best in this district, trying to improve everything we can do, and I don't have any problem to improve everything you're asking us to do during the frame time that we have before, because we have kids and we have children. Our kids are going to be home alone because we don't have enough, our salary is not good enough to pay for babysitter, to pay for anybody after school. We're going to spend more money, extra time, paying for babysitter, working here, and I don't see why we can implement better way of teaching without going the extra time. I'm worried about my kids because my children are going to be home alone for 2 hours extra, and that is my big concern.
Okay, well, again, I'm going to say what I said again about the secondary. Secondary's already doing that. They have families too. Okay, so and that is so, and that's a fact. So, and then our teachers, you know, there's a lot of teachers with students. And one of the things that we've done in working with tutorials and programs working on, we've provided, you know, if we paid an aide to stay and do coloring and movies and different things for our teachers' kids while they work with programs, then, you know, the student was there and they didn't have to pay for the health care, or I'm sorry, the child care for that, because those are things that we can work out for our teachers in our district. Well, okay, well, then, you know, bring your kids here. This school is good enough. Well, wait a minute. My children come to school here, and I understand that there can be some reasons why your children don't, or whatever that may be. But if you're an employee of the district You know, your children can come, they're accepted as a transfer. Why would you not want your children in the education that you provide? Well, if they're an employee of the district and their children go here, we'll find a way to help that. Now, if you don't want to bring your children into our district, for whatever that reason may be, I mean, I'm trying to help here, but my concern, and I'll be honest with you, my concern is the 2,200 students that we currently have enrolled, and we need to take care of those students. And it's students, then me, and then whoever else. And our students are first and foremost, period. Y'all have the committee on, or y'all have the principal, y'all can take those concerns. There is an option for it. And if it can be done, this is my criteria. But show me how it can be done to meet these needs and these criteria, that we don't punish the kids for the gaps they have, and we fill those gaps in. And that's the point, and that's what we want to happen. Because that is in the best interest of every one of our students that attend Royal ISD.
Mr. Adams.
Yes.
My question is, all the other school districts around the area, they all get out at, 3:30 or whatever, the teachers get out at 3:30, and they seem to be able to get their students, not all of them, but a lot of them, on grade level. Is there a reason why we're still doing C-scope, and would it not be cheaper for us to have somebody to do a new curriculum for us instead of us continuing with the same curriculum that's not seeming to work?
First of all, curriculum is very expensive. C-scope is, and when you start talking about C-scope, and when you start talking about curriculum, because I've written curriculum in math, and as a math teacher, I've written it for Fort Bend ISD. What you do is you take those TEKS, and this is what, before C-scope and before curriculum departments in schools, but when we had the TEKS, it says, here you go, here's your folder, and it's this thick. Here's your 1,200 pages of your math TEKS. You figure out what you're supposed to be teaching. You figure out student objectives. You go back, you go back and you identify those things that the test is going to ask and the student expectations, and you develop that curriculum. Well, you go through and you cut out all these TEKS, and here's your end dates. You've got this calendar laid out, and you go through and you lay these TEKS out, and well, I don't have time for this unit to pick it up. Where can these TEKS fit? And then you go, and then you start saying, okay, now what, I can fit this in this timeline, but now what exactly, because this is a grades 4 through 8, and they want to know the use of SOAP. Well, obviously it's different for a 4th grader as it is for an 8th grader, so what is the student expectation at that grade? And that's what C-scope has done. And you want to talk about C-scope, let's talk about school districts that use it. Why are there school districts meeting exemplary status that use it if it's not a good curriculum? Because why? Because that's a fact.
Which school districts are those that are still using C-scope that haven't?
How many school districts use C-scope in the state of Texas? Is it
Still over 700.
a little over 700 out of 1,000?
Still using.
So 70% of your schools in the state of Texas use it. So.
My question is about student safety in regards to getting out in the later hours. During the winter months, clearly, there's earlier, it gets dark earlier. So my concern is when we're extending the school day and these kids are getting off the bus, we're not dropping them off at their front doors. So my concern would be for student safety. They'll definitely be getting home after dark. How will we address that? We have,
Well, first of all, the extension of the school days is only 15 minutes. Are you talking an hour for
I'm sorry,
elementary?
elementary.
But it's still daylight when those kids get home at that time. And for half of our school district, it's only in 15 minutes. And, what about that? As far as the safety goes, I don't think that safety is an issue in regards to whether it's a 4 o'clock, and actually, that's the 4 o'clock is the late dismissal, which is high school, and we're talking a 7:30 to 3:30, so it's actually a 30-minute dismissal for the elementary kids. It's only 30 minutes later in the day, but they're starting earlier.
Okay, well, in regards to that, I am on the elementary campus, and I know that our late buses sometimes arrive after 4. And so some of those kids go all the way out to Sunnyside, they're getting there 30, 40 minutes later.
And that is an issue that we're going to resolve. Transportation and making sure the buses are there waiting for the kids when they get out is an issue that we're going to resolve.
Okay.
Our question is twofold. It deals with special ed services and ESL services. Those kids that already have the deficits and that we know that they have those learning deficits, how is the Falcon Flyer program going to affect them?
The Falcon Flyer program is in addition to what we're currently doing for those students. It doesn't change what we're doing. It is in addition to work on those gaps in those areas that those students need. That's all the Falcon Flyer. Don't think that everything we know as today is changing. It's not.
Okay, and then some of the children have multiple deficits, so they're going to be in multiple classes that deal with those as well.
That is correct. They would be in multiple classes, and obviously, if they've got deficits in multiple classes, they're probably not going to be able to exit at the end of the first year. That may be a 2 or 3 year Falcon Flyer versus a 1 year Falcon Flyer. So the more deficits, the longer it takes to get them caught up.
Okay, and then the other part is with the ESL students that are already in an ELA class, then they're getting additional language arts assistance in their ESL classes. So they do have those deficits. You're going to place them in an additional language arts based Falcon Flyer program. How is that going to really help them if they're going to be?
Because the Falcon Flyer program is not about grade level content. That's the whole thing about the Falcon Flyer program. What they're currently in their ELA class is about grade level content. So the Falcon Flyer goes back to prior knowledge. You know, say it's a freshman or an 8th grader or 6th grader. Say it's that. Well, we go back to start looking at first grade and work ourselves up to where they currently are, to grade level. Where were those deficiencies at?
Good evening. You were saying earlier that the program is going to be limited to extracurricular activities, and we know that a lot of our kids are drawn towards extracurricular activities. It's going to be, what kind of incentives are going to be put in place to invite our kids to really want to push hard to be a part of the STEM Academy? That's the first question. Also, we see mostly at the secondary level, a lot of our kids are influenced by their peers, whether it be positive, negative. What are some things we want to do to try to encourage them not to sway in a negative, position in terms of saying, hey, I want to do my best, I want to be in the STEM Academy, I want to work towards, in terms of the numbers of trying to get enrollment to the STEM Academy.
All right. Go back to what is your first question?
The extracurricular activities, you were saying earlier it was going to be limited in terms of there's going to be more academic based in terms of what they could take.
Electives will be limited, but our extracurricular and co-curricular activities at any of the programs that they choose are the same.
Okay.
They have access to that. So if they're at the STEM and they want to be in the band, they can. Okay, we're not limiting our extracurricular activities. But at the STEM, the number of electives, they're not going to have the same choices of electives at the STEM that they would on the home campus. That's elective courses, not our extracurricular and co-curricular.
And I guess that's the question I was asking, and thank you for answering that. Do you think that would sway them away from wanting to be a part of the program?
Well, the thing about it is the STEM is a choice. It is not geared for every smart student. It is not geared to separate. It is a choice for those students that are interested in that meet those qualifications, that can be successful in that. That there's going to be a lot of smart kids that aren't going to be interested in that. that's fine. We have a lot of smart kids that aren't interested in a lot of our different programs that we offer, but it doesn't mean that those programs shouldn't be offered. You know, it still meets those needs. And, you know, in the other part, when you start talking about what we're going to do to persuade, you know, positive, negative, I think that's something that we always do anyway. And, you know, we always should work on the character and promoting positive character traits and positive, and being positive towards those actions that they do that are desired. Okay?
Where are we going to know specifics? Are they going to more improvements?
Yeah, and, you know, the present, he asked, when are we going to know the specifics? These are the specifics in regards to the latest program, the Falcon Flyer. Everybody should have a concept of what that looks like. That will be implemented on every campus. Now, the high school campus will be the latest one to dismiss, and it dismisses at 4. Obviously, we have transportation that can't pick everybody up at 4, so it's staggered. Our elementary kids get to school earlier than any others anyway, and plus, if we're picking kids up first, those are the kids that the parents are getting to work and they can't get themselves on the bus, so we pick them up first. So you're probably looking somewhere in this arbitrary number, but 7:30 to 3:30. But it could be 7:20 to 3:20. I don't think it would be that early. I think 7:30 to 3:30 is a ballpark figure on that. You know, negatives, elementary teachers are going to work 4 hours extra a week. Negative, high school, you're going to work an extra 15 minutes a week. High school and junior high. Everybody gets out at 3 o'clock on Friday. This program runs Monday through Thursday, and everybody dismisses at 3 o'clock on Friday. I thought we'd do that because, you know, again, it's Friday, get you home, because I do understand the family issue. Yes.
Hi, I'm Deb from the manager of elementary cafeteria, and my concern is how these kids are going to actually, are they going to have lunch over there, or are they going to be transferred over to?
You talking about STEM?
Yes.
Well, what's going to happen? No, they're not coming back. Just like at STEM, what they're going to do is the old lunch count day where the teacher takes, all right, these are your options for today, how much? And we've already talked to Chartwells, and it'll come over to them already ready to go.
Okay.
And so they'll be served over there.
Oh.
Can you please explain just a little bit what resources are going to be available for those teachers who do have students here? For example, mine's a special ed, and so she does come to my room at 3:45.
Well, like I said, one of the things that we've done in the past, and you know, I think that you find somebody that can catch all the teachers' kids, and you have stuff planned for them during that time. But keep in mind, if your students are here, they're going to be in class. They're going to be in class, and then when class dismisses, then if it dismisses at 3:30, they're still in class. They're going to No, but the FFP, Chess is going to be part, and I'm getting waved off because it's after 5, and I know that everybody's anxious to be at home. But yeah, what it is the FFP is going to be integrated throughout the day, and our school day is going to be that for all kids. So if you're a parent and you're a student and you have a child in school, as soon as school's over, you're done with your students. So if they came to your room after school, you could do that anyway. Okay? So they're still going to be able to come to your room. Yes. Just like, what are you currently doing? You know, that's what you would still do. Okay? One last question. You know, while he's getting over there, you know, keep in mind, you know, what is in the best interest of the students that we have. It's not their fault, and it's not your fault that we are where we are, and the fact that our students have those gaps. But the fact is that they do have it. And we have to do something to fix that. And if we do what we've always done, we'll get what we've always gotten. And we can't do that. And again, this is not about grade level work. This is not about tutorials. This is specifically focusing on the gaps of those students. So when they're sitting in 8th grade math and they're struggling because of things they're missing in 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th, and 7th grade, those things go back and we target those. It is not about grade level work. Yes?
It's more of a statement and less of a question, but there's a question answer. We talk about other districts and the things that they do, and I do have family members that teach in other districts, and sometimes they have morning tutorials. There are certain teachers that are designated for morning tutorials, and they have children that go to their schools also, their personal children. And there are 1 or 2 teachers that watch the kids in the morning, and 1 or 2 teachers that watch the kids in the afternoon, so that those teachers can do it's their extended day. I mean, there are teachers in some of the schools inside there, their day starts at 7:30 and ends at 4:30, and somebody's watching their kids. I think that at the junior high, which is where I teach, probably everyone is not aware of this, 50% of the staff begins our day at 7:15 and ends at about 4. And the other 50% begins at 7:45 and ends at 4:20 when the last bus goes. And everybody on campus at some point is working from 7:20 to 4:20, 3 days a week. So we're already working all these hours. So for us, it's not the extended time, it's the benefit to the children. And I'm just going to say this from my personal standpoint. Y'all can hate me or like me, it's your choice. But I would really like to see some of these children's deficits cured at an earlier age, because if I stay here till 6:30 or 7 almost every day of the week, because I'm trying to find remediation, I'm trying to find the work, I'm trying to help the kids, I'm trying to get stuff to the RTI, I'm trying to make sure that I'm available after all the activities. I have a family too, but it's what I do because I do it for the kids. And yes, it is frustrating sometimes, but I don't see the Falcon Flyer program needing to last for 3 years. If we can catch these kids now between the 3rd, the 5th, and the 6th grade years before they get to 8th grade math, and I literally am having to stay after 5 days a week to work with them because they cannot do some basic skills, it's going to benefit. Is it going to benefit me this year? No, sorry. 2014, 2015 may not be my favorite year, because now I'm going to work more and I'm going to have more stuff put on me. I'm going to have PEs, I'm going to have things like that. But you know what? 2015, 2016, that's going to be a better year for me. Maybe I won't have to stay here till 6:30 at night, because I won't have to work 20 kids a week because they didn't get what they needed at the earlier grades. We're going to catch those deficits when they come. So there's good things and there's bad things. And we need to find a way to meet the kids' needs. We need to find a way to meet the teachers' needs. And I think that some of the duties that we have, we can hire bus drivers to drive kids around. We not hire 1 or 2 people or get parent volunteers to watch some of the kids so we can work with the kids, that sort of stuff. I see it being beneficial in the long run. I think the first year's going to be hard. That's just me personally.
Any closing comments for this minute? And in closing comments, we do know that it's going to be hard, and it's not going to be a lot of fun. But we do feel like it is something that is necessary. And like I said, we really expect over the next couple of years to see the students in this program dwindle. We want to see kids exiting out of this. We want to see the STEM program grow because of the numbers of available that are eligible students on the grade level. We want to see those things happen. The only promises that I can make is 1, yes, there will be roadblocks, and 2, we will hear those and we will debate those in whatever way we can do to fix those. We can. Will we be able to fix some? Yes. Will we be able to fix all of them? No. There's going to be some roadblocks that, it is what it is, and we're going to have to, make choices, on what we do. So, and that's it. But, do this. Keep the students in mind. That's what this is about. Thank you all very much, and appreciate the job you did.